Welcome back, everyone. This is the Dr. Sophia Rothschild show. Recently, there was this flare up about spanking on a TV show run by the distinguished American journalist Tori. That's Toure, and he's a distinguished American journalist. And on that show, I think there was a lady named uh, Sharon Bryant as advocating spanking. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I find it very troubling that in this 21st century, people are still advocating such barbaric notions even after decades of studies. For example, the Canadian Medical Association Journal, September 4th, 2012, and there was an article called Physical Punishment of Children, Lessons from 20 Years of Research. All right. And the study was done by Joan Durant from the University of Manitoba, Winnipeg, and also from Ron Henson. He is also another distinguished Canadian researcher. And it goes into the decades of research into matter. And some of the conclusions came about was the fact that physical punishment does not help the child. Far from it, it leads to a sense of doubt, a feeling of inadequacy, a feeling of good enough, shame, other ideas such as they grow up with anger issues. Okay, so the idea that we should whip the child is not about bark, but it's cruel. You cannot beat behaviors of the children. You have to teach the child and guide the child. That's why it's called parenting, not this barbaric nonsense. And if you're still not convinced, there's also another study done. This one was done by the Harvard Graduate School of Education. It's called The Effects of Spanking on the Brain. And this one was April 13th, 2021 by Jill Anderson. And this one also goes into detail of how, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be very careful with this stuff. Spanking does lead to brain damage. The article goes in great depth. The study of corporate punishment and elevated neural response to threat in children. And it was published in Child Development. And this one goes into how spanking impact the brain functions in children. And this article titled Corporal Punishment and Elevated Neural Response to Threats in Children. And this was published in the Child Development Journal. And you can Google that and find it. But back to the article, back to the article, the effect of spanking on the brain by the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and this one is posted on April 13th, 2021 by Jill Anderson. And it goes looking at the cognitive development, counseling, and material health, early child education, and all these aspects that shows you no, spanking is not healthy. It is harmful. So please, ladies and gentlemen, cease and desist from this barbaric action. You'll also notice that people who advocate for spanking cannot list any medical journal or any scientific journal to advocate their behavior. And there's more. In the American Psychological Association, they also did one called the Case Against Spanking. And this one was 2012, April, volume 43, number 4. Okay, you can go have to go and look them up there. And it doesn't want to go into another detail. This whole thing is just this whole idea of spanking is just barbaric. These journal articles, these journals researches goes into decades of studies, and all it's conclusive. It's caused harm. And no, it doesn't lead them to better discipline. It led them to anger issues, uh, doubt, feeling of inadequacy, and all that. We're basically creating generations of children with anger issues, which grow up to become violent people. So I urge people to cease this madness of seeing they can whip children, make them better. No, it doesn't make them better. Okay. Also, the World Health Organization does a study on called corporal punishment of children and health, May 11th, 2026. And and also another one I could go to. I can go to tons of articles, but let's give some of the previous some of the basic ones. The ScienceDirect.com, spanking and adult mental health impairment. In 2017, and it clearly shows this is just man, this is a Stone Age, Bronze Age ideology that has been repudiated by every single scientific, medical, psychological study in existence. All right, and one more for you. There was also a book um, called Spanked, How Hitting Our Children is Harming Ourselves. And this is by Christina Eckerson from the University of Augsburg. So this is from there's a Christine, this is called Spanked, How Hitting Our Children is Harming Ourselves. And this book was written by Christina Eckerson from Augsburg University. That's Augsbure University, and that just shows that it's the going to detail about the negative impact. The book was published by my alma mater, Oxford University Press. So let me give you the full title. It's called Spanked, How Hitting Our Children is Harming Ourselves by Christina Eckerson, right, no, by Christina Erickson, Erickson from Augsburg University. That's Augsburg University Fellow. And it was published by Oxford University Press, my alma mater, in 2022. And I could go on for infinitum, billions of articles, all of them sense nonsense. No, there are those among us who then would default back to the position that, oh, the Bible says, spare not the rod and spoil the child. Aha! Well, is the problem. A more profound assessment of that statement shows it's talking about guiding, directing, teaching the child in the right way so they can and correcting them when they do wrong so they learn to do things the correct way. It doesn't necessarily mean take a whip and whip the child. Far from it. So that statement, spare not the rod and spoil the child, a more profound assessment of this statement would indicate it's talking more about, guiding and directing and teaching the child how to do things the correct way, how to, and correcting them when they do something wrong. Not necessarily punching them and kicking them or whipping them. No, it's all madness. So I urge you not to be too quick to just go around and whipping child. You have to teach a child the right way from their young. And above all else, yes, it is instructive that we listen to the child before you do any um, act of discipline and correction and training and guidance. You have to first listen to the child, why the child did what they did. And once you listen to the child, then you can better assess the situation and provide the best um, corrective action. So no, you just don't. If there's a problem, you just don't go around and just start up with um, uh, any form of discipline. No, first you have to listen to the child, what happened, how it happened, and once that's done, you then can provide the appropriate guidance. And notice I say guidance, not whipping the child. No, you have to provide guidance and discipline and ways of doing corrective behavior. After you've listened, first you have to listen to what the child, why the child did what it did, what really happened, and once you've done that, you then make the appropriate assessment and appropriate corrective um, action, guidance, training, etc. Also, if it involves somebody else's child, you have to contact that child, parents, and not just take it upon yourself. All right. Now, and that's it in a nutshell. So, in the end, spanking is wrong, and it does not provide any benefits to society. Case in point, Adolf Hitler was spanked harshly by his parents, and it led to violence, it leads to anger, and a monster. And in fact, just to add, all right, um, it's been confirmed that Hitler, I think someone like Hitler was very much severely uh, physically punished, physically beaten by his father during his childhood. And I think that greatly affected him when he grows up. I'm not justifying what he did, but the whole point is that it just goes to show you that spanking children, whipping children, it's harmful, as I've shown from a number of uh, scientific journals and medical journals that it's harmful both to the child and to the parent. So my recommendation is um, no, spanking is not a good thing. And we should not, in this day and 21st century, make an excuse for such behavior. All right? Thank you so much, and you have a good day.